February the 28th, 1993, changed our lives. That was the day that our son was killed in Waco, Texas, on a raid with the Branch Davidians. Todd was a ATF agent, and he was on an assignment. He worked out of New Orleans, and he was going in to arrest a cult leader that had illegal weapons. And there were about 100 agents that went in on horse trailers as a disguise. And as they approached the compound, they met heavy gunfire. The 4 agents were killed just in the first few minutes. I think they told us the first 90 seconds. And then there were about 16 of them wounded. The firefight went on, I think, for 45 minutes before they could get a ceasefire. We'd gone to church that morning, because we always go to church on Sunday, and we had planned to eat lunch with my daughter. And so we were down at her house when Todd's wife called us from New Orleans and said that we might want to get some clothes together in case we had to go to Texas, that they had called from Todd's office saying that some of them were wounded, and Todd may have been one wounded. So she was getting clothes ready to go. And she said it's also on CNN if you want to watch it. They're filming it live. So we came home from my daughters and turned on the TV, and just devastated. It's like we didn't want to watch it, but we couldn't tear ourselves away. I just kept wanting to see Todd, make sure he was okay. So by the time we had it on TV, then all our friends and neighbors were finding out, and everybody came. We had a house full of people, and people were just bringing food and hugs and just to support us. So it was a tough day. That was about, I think that was about noon when we first got word from Leslie. It had happened at about 10 o'clock that morning. But that was about noon when she called. And she was crying and screaming. It was hard for my son-in-law. He's the one that answered the phone. And it was hard for him to tell what she was even saying. But we came on home and like I said, turned on the TV and just watched it. And we didn't get final word till about 4 o'clock in the afternoon that Todd was one of the 4 agents that was killed.
Every class that goes through federal law enforcement class, the person with the highest achievement receives the Todd McKeehan Memorial Award, and this is what it looks like.
Just wanted to tell you about the last family picture we had made before Todd was killed. I had taken the Olin Mills Club plan, and you could have 3 pictures made a year, and I had had 2 already made, and so I decided to, when we all got together for Christmas would be a good time to have a family picture made. And so we told Todd to be sure and bring his sport coat and a tie that his dad wanted him, especially the boys, to have shirts and ties and coats on. So I made it for like 8:30 on December the 23rd, so I could get them all together. And so everybody got dressed up and went up to the Olin Mills studio and had this picture made. And this is Todd, this is our son Brad, and our son Wade, our son-in-law David, our daughter Tanya. Andy is David and Tanya's son, and Allison is their daughter, and this is myself, and this is Tony. And so this was made December the 23rd, and then Todd was killed February the 28th. So it's a prized family picture. It was just like it was meant to be that we made the effort to get together and have that made.
Here we have a photograph of Todd when he's in the Marines, and we have his boots and his hat, and helmet, and this is his New Testament that he carried with him the entire time. So that tells you the kind of person he was. And we know that they would always have devotions every day with his company in the Marine Corps, and have prayer. And so that tells you the kind of person he was. He was a leader, and he displayed that, and he certainly wasn't ashamed of his faith. And he had other Marines to participate as well. And because when you're in war and that kind of situation, you just don't know whether you're going to see the next day or not. And that made these guys that much closer. They were family. Marine Corps, his senior year in high school, and he went to boot camp as soon as he graduated, so he could finish that up and get back so he could go to East Tennessee State University. And during that time, they got called up to go to Kuwait. And here is a picture of the people that was under him. He was over that particular squad. And then here is a picture that he was an honored graduate when he completed his boot camp. So he really liked his time in the Marine Corps. He was a Marine through and through.
Todd's childhood best friend growing up, and we had a lot of adventures together growing up. A lot we talked about with the family, and maybe a few we don't talk about with the family, but that's what makes a friendship. So this is a great memorial wall Jane put up for Todd, and every time I come home I always like to come down, take a look at it, and bring back some memories. And one of the ones she has is when Todd and I were on the swim team. This was actually our freshman year. We were the little guys. You can tell how big we are up front there, side by side. We'd become best friends by then. And that was our freshman year in high school together. And then we went on to be co-captains of the swim team our senior year. And never were far apart. You know, once he went ATF, it was always a phone call away. And the memories never leave us, and the important thing now is to remember him and all the great things he did and all the fun he had. We always joked he was the wingman. I was the one always driving. We always said because he was left-handed he wasn't a very good driver. That was the excuse we used, because he was left-handed. So I did all the driving and he did all the navigating, trying to keep me in order anyway. Jane thought I was the bad influence on him, but I think he was a good influence on me too, so can't say much else, but I was fortunate.
This plaque here is Operation Trojan Horse. That's what they call that operation at Waco. And that is a picture of all the people that was on that mission. President Bill Clinton and our family that was taken in Washington, D.C. a year after Todd's death. And of course you have a lot of mixed emotions like that. It was a shock, and then later on, as time went on, people asked, "Are you bitter over something like that?" And I said, "No, because the Lord will handle that situation. He will take care of it in his time. So there's no need for me to be bitter and hateful toward people like that, because it'll all work out in the end. And of course, we all are strong Christians. We have a good, strong Christian background, and I think this has helped us get through this situation with the support of a lot of other people around us that have supported us. The ATF itself, they supported us through all of this. And then on one hand, a lot of people say, well, aren't you mad at the ATF? No, I can't be mad at them, because that's what Todd wanted to do. Out of all the agencies he applied for, he wanted to work for the ATF. And they were the first to call him, and he loved his job. He loved what he was doing.
I remember we had 2 grandchildren at the time. Andy was 7 and Allison was 3. And they were here. And I cried, but yet I wanted to, I didn't want them to remember that that's the way. I was just going to cry all the time the rest of my life and not be happy for them. So, because I knew Todd wouldn't want me to be that way. So I just made up my mind to try to be better and not bitter, and just go on in life and just be happy. So they would always grow up and be happy and remember me being happy and not sad because of Todd.
This is a painting that was done by Kelly Williams, which was a sister to Rob Williams, that also was killed on that day. And this is an angel, and you can see the halo around 3 of the agents, and the 4th agent is laying in the arms or the wings of this angel. And they all have descended to heaven. So this gives us another reason to believe that we'll see them again there in heaven.
Being raised in the Christian church and knowing that God's promises are, He don't promise you things like this won't happen, but He promises you if they do, He'll be with you. So I held on to that. I knew God was with me every step of the way and would get us through it. And He has. It's you never get over it, the loss and the hurt, but you learn to go on. And I wanted my life to be an example that I did have faith and I believed what God said. And I wanted people to see that through me. And like if I just cried and was so sad all the time, I felt like I was letting God down over His promises to me.
What I want to say about Todd is, I know that we'll see Todd again, and we'll look forward to that time that we will see him again, and it's getting closer every day, because I know the kind of person he was. He tried to do things for other people. He was concerned about helping other people, and I know along the way that after his death that people would tell me about things that he would do for them, and so he had a big heart, and the important thing was that he was a Christian, and there's no doubt in my mind that we will see Todd again.